When something happened on my block, I see a lot of cops. So I look. I see what I saw. I saw what I looked. And I leave.
It was a shooting on my block. No, they came up, they blocked the whole block off. I mean, like, they thought it was a block party because there's so many cops on my block. My mom coming home, they wouldn't even let her inside the rope because they like, excuse me, miss, where you going? My mom was like, my daughter, she in here, you better let me in this gate because I live here. I pay mortgage here, you better let me in there. So she arguing with the cop. I don't like cops because of the fact that they manhandled my mom.
Oh, I have encounters with police many times.
My first interaction with a police officer was when I was 16.
The police said that I ran a stop sign, and I clearly did not. And I was stopped and asked for my identification. And I asked him why was I stopped, and he said that I did not stop at the stop sign. And knowing how police are, I did not give him a lot of mouth.
I had just gotten my driver's license and was driving my mom's car to school, and I'd gotten a couple of speeding tickets on the corridor between my house and school.
I don't particularly think as an Asian American my safety is in danger, but I'm very aware of like the issues around police brutality, so I guess what goes through my mind when I see a police officer is like, oh, what's he going around doing?
My mom had made it clear that if I'd gotten a third speeding ticket, that was going to be the end for me. I wasn't going to be able to have driving privileges anymore. So the third time when I saw the lights go on, I just panicked. And instead of stopping for the officer, I hit the gas and I tried to get away.
Because I don't like all them cops around me. Make me feel nervous. Make me sweat. And when they see me sweating, they think I'm doing something. And it's my block. So I gotta, post it up there.
I probably drove about a mile before he caught up to me, and he asked me if I was trying to elude him. And I said yes, I was, and I was very tearful and very sorry, and he let me go.
He said his supervisor said anytime he stops a person, he was supposed to give a ticket. That didn't make sense. I told him I was clearly going to fight this. I took it to traffic court, and of course I won. And but this is routine. My opinion, I will keep going on. I believe that oftentimes young white police overreach when they come in black communities. By that I mean that they are a lot more forceful.
And I think that it's no coincidence that he let me go. I think that happened because I have skin privilege and probably also because of my gender. But if I had been somebody else in that situation, that could have been a deadly situation.
On my way to work, I would be stopped by the police and held up. They would ram-check my car and go in my trunk and make slurs. Boy, I know you selling drugs or something. They would just automatically have this perception that I was a drug dealer when I was a teacher.
I was walking down the block to take out trash, like 11 o'clock at night, and these undies pulled up on me. Undies are cops that you don't think are cops. They undercover cops. They dress regular clothes, and you don't think. So they pulled up on me. I'm like, whoa, what's this? I'm like 16 at the time. I'm like, whoa, what's this? And they look, they like, what you doing? And they look, they had their gun out, and they looked at me. They like, what you do? You pissed yourself? I looked down, my pants was wet, but I just got done washing dishes. So that's how you get the water on you. I was like, oh, snap. Did I? Cause I started thinking, did I pee myself? Now I remembered. I was washing dishes, what's up? They were like, oh, we just seen you taking out the trash. I'm like, yeah. They were like, all right, go home. I'm like, what?
Yes, I think they do have a lot of power because of the fact, it seems like when they do things, they go through lights, they figure they got a lot of power, they can do what they want to do, and they treat some people like they shouldn't be treated.
Yes, some police officers are doing their job because I believe that some police officers really do not want to be in the news over cases like this. You're talking about legal issues.
Well, I mean, some care about what they're doing. You know, they'll take their jobs to heart. There's some, I mean, I can't even say it's a white and black thing, but it's just, it seemed like what happened recently, you know, with Mike Brown and all the rest of the young black, you know, kids and whatnot. It seemed like, you know, it's a continuous from Rodney King back in the day. It seemed like it's an ongoing thing, but it seems like it's getting worse and worse and worse.
I think with social media and camera phones, police are caught more often. I think they were always very bullish and oftentimes abused their authority. And so I don't think policing has been any different today than it has been in years past.
I know police officers, they have the ability to help when help is needed. As far as I've seen policemen help pregnant mothers deliver babies. I've heard like the PAL Center, where Boys and Girls, the Police Athletic League, where young children can go and participate in sports activities.
Well, I mean, I can't excuse what the cops do. But the best thing I can be able to tell a young black person, especially males, to be careful on what they do and how they do it, and be careful of what they wear. Because a cop out there, they were always trying to find an excuse to do what they do, to justify their power and misuse it. Because it makes it seem like what you're doing is wrong and what they're doing is right.
There's little advice that I think I would give to kids themselves in terms of changing their behavior. I mean, I think what we really need to do is change how the system interacts with youth.
But most police officers do abuse their power. And the reason behind that is because it's perhaps not their personalities that make them want to abuse their power. It's just that the power that they're given of being a police officer.
Police response and system response to behavior of kids of color in particular is generated by kind of perceptions of kids of color as dangerous, as adult-like, as not being able to be reformed.
Once you give them this, now they have this body armor on them, now they have this gun and this taser, and they have this, the title of a police officer, which is supposed to protect the people, and so then they begin to feel empowered. And when you feel empowered, there's nothing really to keep you in line or in check, since you are kind of, in a way, they think they're above everyone else because they have this power. So they just they feel that as if they're better. So there's no reason for them not to feel like they can't overuse their power.
I think, when young people come into contact with police officers, the research suggests that demeanor is one of the most important things that affects the outcome of that interaction. And so it may be very hard to swallow, but coming back at a police officer who you think is disrespecting you with more disrespect can lead to pretty bad outcomes.
I don't think that young black youth are more fearful of the police as they were when I was growing up. I think that the young black youth today are much more informed.
Sometimes, having interactions with officers when you feel like you're in a situation where things are unfair, might involve kind of swallowing things in the short term and then following up through legal channels to make some sort of appeal about the behavior, if it was kind of outside the confines of the law.
They know much more. They know that police can be captured on camera with their abuses. So I don't think that they are more fearful. I think that they've learned a lot from the past, and the fact that they are more informed, because I think many parents are taking the time to educate their young black youth about police brutality and abuses.
Well, in my day, police officers would take you home if they caught you doing something wrong, real young people. Nowadays, they take you home. The parents won't scold the police department. They'd much rather see their kids be in the system than to be corrected maybe the right way.
With all that's going on in society these days, in the communities, I think they abuse their powers, and I think maybe some police probably joined the force so that they could have this extra power to take advantage of civilians.
They tell me that when you get in there, the racism within the police districts is terrible. With the black female cops and what they're up against, it's really bad. And then they almost have to follow along because who's in charge? And then the judicial system always acquits these guys that are just shooting these young black boys in the head. Whereas you go out in the Northeast and those white drunken kids out in the streets spitting on cops, what do? You don't hear about them shooting them up.
I think delinquent behavior is normal. I did it. I grew out of it. The only difference between me and anybody else who gets caught up into the system is that I didn't get caught for it. And so I didn't have the stigma of having that label applied. I wasn't pulled out of my school. I didn't have all of these kind of system interruptions in my life.
I don't have a very good view about cops. I mean, it's a shame, but then if my house is robbed or if some brother comes and knocks me in my head and steals my pocketbook, who am I going to call? Cops, So, we're in a quandary here. I'm more likely to be shot in the head by a young brother than I am by a cop.
I wouldn't really look for the causes of delinquency because the causes of delinquency are adolescence.
But that's a lot to do with poverty and poor education, people who are stuck in a cycle of poverty and they prey on each other. Yeah, it's really complicated.
Firemen only come when someone alert them and notify them that there's a possible fire. Ambulances only come out of their station, I believe, when someone is sick or fallen and can't get up type thing. And I think police should do the same thing. Don't come unless someone calls you.
Well, to tell you the truth, in my day, they had one police officer assigned to every school. And his job was to be in that school. When anything happened, he knew what was going on. A lot of times, this police officer kept a lot of young people out of jail because he knew them. And he nipped a lot of things in the bud.
The ones that's not doing their jobs, I would really try and have them fired if I could.
The police are kind of like the watchmen. They go around, they watch over everybody. So it's got to be like people that are watching the police.
Well, first off, they need psychological testing. A lot of them do. I think that many police officers are a product of their environment. They need to go do much more in the way of educating around racial sensitivity. And so, yes, that would be a start. Now, I don't think that there's a whole lot you can do to change a lot of these attitudes. I think that they need to be monitored much more often. And then also the judicial system that protects police officers needs to be evaluated much more closely.